Hello there. Today we are going to be talking about working through some things that you can do if you have sciatic pain, maybe with pregnancy or maybe just because some people have it. There's a lot of tips and tricks that I have taught lying on back, but sometimes your pain is so much that you just can't lie on your back. So all of these are going to be without lying on your back. You can have a yoga block handy if you have one. If not, you can find something else that you can like squeeze a little bit, or you can do without. There's still things that you can do without that. So the first thing that I really want you to be aware of is sometimes a lot of us, including myself, a lot of people that I've worked with, we are trying to make movement from our low back here. And if you can kind of see, I kind of do this little like booty pop, and I'm cutting myself off right here. So a lot of these moves, what we're going to pay attention to is feel as if you're bringing your belly button pulling behind you from here a little bit, and you have a little like rounding of your lower back here. Instead of arching from there, cutting yourself off, can you round from there? What this does not only frees up that low back so it can feel better, but brings your core kind of together, like it's all coming together toward the middle and the front. You can feel like you're bringing belly button in a tiny bit. It's just that subtle feeling, so core's engaged, so it's keeping you safe here versus using bone structure to hold yourself. So just kind of play around with that. It's not something, when I first started learning, I was like, wow, I feel like I've never met this body before. So just play around with it and let yourself experience it. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to come on to hands and knees. We're going to work through some cat-cow kind of sort of in a different way. So here you're going to wrap shoulders down and back, and then see if you can apply that same concept. So instead of arching from that low back, can you feel like you're bringing that belly button, pulling it up toward the ceiling, engaging core a little bit with keeping that rounding back? And don't worry about too much. As I've said before, in yoga, everything is like 80%, not 100%. See then if you can feel like you're pulling sternum forward a little bit. So instead of dropping, arching from the low back here, we're still rounding there, but we're bringing sternum forward for that stretch. And then exhale, arch back, let head hang, press away. Inhale, belly comes down, but not that full arching of that low back. Sternum forward, stretching forward, open collarbone a little bit. Still protecting low back. Exhale, arch back the other way. So let yourself play around with this a little bit. It can feel like you're like riding a bike for the first time without training wheels. Like, what am I doing? But don't worry. Just let yourself try it out and get comfortable there. From here, go ahead and just start to freestyle when you're ready. So move hips in circles, move ribs in circles, but still kind of bring awareness to like, how can I protect that low back as I'm moving my body? The more we practice this on the mat, the more we can bring it to our everyday life off the mat. So then from here, if child's pose feels okay, you can move into it. If you're pregnant and you have a belly and you can't, no worries. Another thing that I like to do from here is bring knees nice and wide. And here, so we not just like splaying out to the side. Again, protect that low back and feel a tiny bit like you're engaging those inner thighs toward each other. So again, it's not 100%, maybe not even 80%, but like 70%, like I'm not just dropping down. Rounding of that low back to protect that space and a little bit of legs together. And then if it feels okay, you can come down to forearms and play around here. Moving side to side, massage, back and forth a little bit. Trust yourself. So if your body is saying, ooh, no, that's not good, don't do it. And avoid those spots. But just play around here. Pressing up out of the shoulders. And don't worry, like I know it's a lot. You're like, how am I supposed to do all that in my body? Just do the parts you can. We learn in layers by layers. So this time you're like, okay, I'm gonna focus on protecting that low back. Next time, focus on something else. From here, come up to hands and knees. And and bring knees back together, and then however it makes sense to you, come up to knees and come up to standing, or however it makes sense. Take time in case you have any lightheadedness. Wonderful. Here we're going to play around again. So we're going to pull belly button back, feel like we're rounding a little bit here, feel like everything forward is coming in into the center. And we're going to do a little movement of the pelvis here. So it's not going to be exaggerated. So we're like cutting ourselves off or arching from the low back. We're still rounding, and our pelvis, like hip points right here, going to move forward and then back. And just play around with little tiny movements. So you can reset the pelvis. You can also do this laying on back with feet on the ground, knees in the air. But if laying on the back doesn't feel good, here's another way to play around with it. Relax the shoulders, soften the face, make sure you're still breathing. You can even match them to your breath. So move one way on an inhale, another way on an exhale. Just getting a little mobility back there. Another thing that you can do might be a little weirder, especially standing up, but play around with it, is practice. Feel like you're moving hips in a diagonal or pelvis in a diagonal. So I'm moving from here down to here, up here, down to here. And again, it's tiny movements. If you'll notice, it might hurt if you're trying to really make it big. It's tiny, subtle movements. Like you might not even see what I'm doing. And then when you're ready, you can switch across the other way. Still protecting that low back, tiny baby movements. Awesome. When you're ready here, you can grab that block or something that might be like a block if you have it. You're going to bring it between your legs. Feet are still about hip distance. Check in, pull belly button behind you. Engage that core, belly button even towards spine, just a tiny bit, that subtle body. Everything feel like it's coming to center. Making sure you're not arching from that low back, but have that little bit of rounding here. Then, without tensing everywhere else, just using your thighs, can you feel like you're gently squeezing that block? Just your thighs. Exhale, let go. Inhale, gently squeeze, just using thighs. Exhale, let go. Awesome. Do that a couple more times. Perfect. Can do it a little longer if it feels good, but no, you're not squeezing for dear life. You're not like, if you notice, like I'm not like bearing down and super squeezing and tensing everything up. It's just, how can I get my thighs just to activate and come toward each other? Perfect. That is something that can help. Some other things that can help is a yogi squat. So a yogi squat, feet are a little wider than hip distance, pointing out toward the side a little bit. Again, protect that low back. Pull belly button behind you, maybe even towards spine to engage a little bit. Bend knees, sink hips here. It doesn't matter how low you go. So if you're here and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling stuff happening, you're exactly where you need to be. If you want to come down more, you can come down. If you notice though, I'm not slouching down. I've got a nice straight spine. Some people can use that block to sit on, get nice and high, opening hips here, strengthening, not forcing anything, just feeling, strengthening, opening. Might be a little like uncomfortable pushing toward those edges, but not painful. If it feels pain, especially if you have that sciatic pain, then this isn't for you right now, and that is okay. So another thing that can feel super awesome, all these poses really help us women with hips and stuff like that. Men, it can help you too if you're watching this. But again, feet a little wider. We're going to move into goddess pose, horse pose, whatever you want to call it. Pull belly button behind you, arching from the low back, engage core. This time, we're going to bend knees, sink hips a little, protecting that low back still. Feel like you're gently pressing thighs behind you. This again is like that 70%. It's not 100 plus. Arms to go, post arms. Relax, shoulders down, away from ears. Inhale, straighten legs, bring arms down. Exhale into it. And notice it's like flowing. When I straighten my legs, I'm not snapping up into things, not squeezing anywhere. It's just nice, gentle flowing, really paying attention to protecting that low back. Option to pause and hold here or keep flowing, whatever feels good to you. So those are some things that you can do. Another thing you can do is a lot of times we need this, like, it's called the piriformis. I get these all mixed up, but there's just so much is connected around your hips, around your pelvis, going down your legs, toward your knees, so much. So some things that we can do to stretch that out can feel really good. So you can sit on a chair. I don't have one up here now, so I'm going to pretend this wall is my chair. But seriously, if you're having pain, use the chair. There is no less. So you're going to sit in a chair, and you can bring one leg up, cross it over, check that like hips are square a little bit. And the goal isn't like, do I have to press down as hard as I can or anything? Just use your breath to create space there. So just inhale, exhale, create the space you need here, knowing that your breath can do so much to create space. And you can switch, so don't feel like you have to press, you have to open, just use that breath. And you might notice on your inhales, you come out of it a little bit, exhales deeper. One more thing that I thought of is if you have a tennis ball, you can grab a tennis ball and you can be really careful with this because it shouldn't create pain. Our goal is like, oh, let's go right to that spot that hurts the most, and that should help us. No, that doesn't help, because if you're tense and squeezing and in pain, you're not letting anything relax. But you can play around with that tennis ball. You can put it under one cheek. Find a meaty part. Like I said, it doesn't have to be on the pain. And you decide, you can have that leg with the ball underneath up, or switch. This one is more intense for me than this one was, so you get to like decide. We're all different. When I first started doing this, I had to hold myself up a little. So I had to really be careful of my shoulders that I wasn't putting more tension in there. But just, again, your breath is what opens up. So just breathe here. Creating space, letting yourself relax everywhere else, knowing that you don't have to be and you don't want to be right on that painful spot to create change in your body. When you're ready, you can roll around and find another spot that is feeling good. Breathe through it here and just find a few spots, spending a little time there. If you're a person that needs an amount of time and has to count, like 30 seconds is a good number, so you don't have to spend a ton of time there. It's better to spend smaller amounts of time more regularly than big amounts of time once in a while. So as always, this is like a deep tissue massage. Be sure to drink water, be sure to listen to your body, but you can just roll around, find some spots where it's releasing. A word of caution. When you are finished and you remove that tennis ball, it feels like your butt cheek has flattened and that you have no butt there anymore. I promise it's still there, looking beautiful as ever, but that is something that happens, and then you can move on to the other side. So trust yourself, listen to your body, try these out, and don't be alarmed if some don't feel good to you. Like our sciatic stuff, all the stuff going around, hips, everything, is from so many different things, from our shoulders, from our jaws even, from our hips, from everything else. So it's not a like one size fits all thing. So listen to yourself, trust yourself, find what works for you. Thank you. Enjoy your day.